Not only will we buy hopefully profitable businesses, but we're buying customers.
So what's the plan over the next 3 years? Hit the 20 million and sell at that point?
We want to get to that 20 million. We want to hit a profitability number that makes sense for an acquirer.
Thank you so much for coming in to see me today, because people are always interested in dealmaker stories. So you listened to my podcast. That was the starting point, wasn't it? So tell us about that.
So this is before I joined the Dealmaker, so probably going back maybe 2022, I guess, Jonathan. I listened to this podcast, and it was some guy, can't remember his name now, and he bought a business that sold balloons. And it's like a bit of a random thing. Mm-hmm. But I kind of got it that he wasn't just buying the business for the balloons, he was actually buying a customer database. Yes. And it made me think that in our offering, we have a lot of products and offerings that we can sell to our clients. And clients tend to just think you do one thing for them. So I was then thinking, actually, if we could do a strategic acquisition or two, not only will we buy hopefully profitable businesses, but we're buying customers.
So talk to us about the deals that you've done since that podcast episode, since that fateful day. What was the first one?
So the first one was, at the time, it seemed like a really good deal. And it was a strategic acquisition of a company in the United States. And the reason for that is we have a customer who said, you need boots on the ground in the States. You're doing a great job, but at the end of the day, there's a time difference. And whether you're on the east or the west coast of America, it's going to be 5 to 7 hours. So they really wanted to find somebody who could actually be in America and could service them. So we looked and looked and looked and couldn't actually find anybody who was the right caliber. But we knew a guy had his own business, very similar business to what we had, turned over maybe $500,000, over about a dozen customers. So we did a deal with him that we would set up a North American entity. We would have his company being a wholly owned subsidiary of that North American entity. He would end up with 25% equity and we'd take the 75%.
Okay, makes sense.
And the idea was that we then put all of our work in North America into this business. Mm-hmm. So on the face of it, it was a great deal.
Sounds like it.
But.
There's always a but.
There is a but on this one, unfortunately. What I've learned over the years is to trust my gut instinct.
Okay.
And my gut instinct was telling me, yes, this is a great deal, but can you work with this guy? Because I'd never really worked with Americans. And listen, I have no issues with Americans, but they're different to us in a lot of ways. And this guy was difficult. He was incredibly difficult to work with. He had the ego the size of the moon. He wanted to be called the president. He didn't want to report back to us. It was honestly, it was like pulling nails. It was just really, really painful. And we had a board meeting by teams one day, only about 5 months into the relationship. And at the end of it, I thought, I can't work with this guy. I cannot work with this guy. And if we're not careful, it's going to drag our business down.
You're watching this video because you've got some level of interest in buying a business. That's great. Let's get you started. I've got something brand new. It's free of charge. It's called the Business Buying Toolkit. And there's a link to get it in the video description below. Tell us about the next deal.
So the next deal, we were on the Dealmaker through 2023 with yourself and James. And we were really excited really on about how we now think we should be structuring these deals with some success. We probably got, each time we did a batch of 1,000 letters, maybe 25 to 30 responses.
Oh, right. Pretty good.
Had phone calls with all of them. Mm-hmm. Some were just not realistic in terms of what they wanted. Some were basically saying, just take the business, I want to leave now. Others were going, actually, I want to stay on the journey with you guys. And having learnt from the American experience, it was like, okay, if you're going to stay on the journey with us, you've got to be the right person.
Absolutely. And this is what I mean about you start to accumulate experiences that you can then apply to the next deal.
Yeah. And do you know what I found in my life? I think you learn more from your failures than possibly your successes.
Absolutely.
Successes are great, right? We all think we can replicate it. It doesn't always work that way.
When you're successful, you look back and you think, I'm not quite sure why I was successful. When something doesn't work, you look back and you can analyse it and figure out what went wrong.
And you know what went wrong. So we followed the course throughout last year,
and
we came across a couple of businesses owned by the same guy. And ironically, we were doing a bit of business with him anyway, and it turns out that he'd had a little bit of bad luck in terms of a customer had moved away through no fault of his own. They just decided strategically to do something, and it left him with a bit of a hole because he got this setup in Leicester, a 24,000 square foot logistics hub, and a print finishing business as well. And he's got everything there. He just needs volume. So we were thinking, actually, we do use for a little bit of what we do, but we've also got another 3 or 4 suppliers across the UK who we use for storage, pick, pack, bundling, etc. And we thought, well, what if we were to take all of that work, we've already got that work, and put it into this factory? Would that turn it from being a loss-making organisation into a profitable organisation? And the answer was yes, it would. So the deal that we struck was that the guy stays on the journey with us, as I call it, retaining 25%. He's on a salary, and we take 75%.
How soon after that one did you do the next one? What was, because you get a taste for this, don't you?
You do.
You start to
Yep.
see a bigger future. And I think people who've never done a deal before get bogged down in details and they lose the vision. But when you've got the vision, and you sound to me like someone who's got lots of vision, then you think bigger and you know that this is possible.
Yeah, you do. So having got that one over the line, I was really clear that there was one more sector I wanted to bring into the group. And that was around promotional products, branded workwear. It's £1 billion industry in the UK alone. Now, we've already got a setup in China. So I've got boots on the ground in China, in Shenzhen, in southern China, and in Wuhan. So we can already use the Chinese market to bring products in. But what I don't have is access to factories here in the UK or in the EU, because you have to go through a distributor. Mm-hmm. So we go through a distributor who talks to the factory. So there's layers of fat in there. The acquisition we're doing is a distributor. So now I have direct access into the markets here in the UK if I wish to use them. So for speed, we have to use the UK sometimes. Someone says, I'm doing a conference next week. We can't get it in from China. We have to source it from the UK. Now we have access to the supply base here in the UK, but we can also put more work through our China factories, well, so our China operation, because we're introducing this business that's currently already got £500,000 worth of spend. So that's another bolt-on to our business. And they've got customers. And those customers only buy promotional products and workwear products at the moment.
Yes.
Now we can start talking about design, about print, about logistics, field marketing. We have a field marketing arm in our business as well. So suddenly the cross-selling opportunities are massive. And that's part of the attraction.
I'm interrupting this video to tell you about my most amazing lawyer. His name is John Andrews. You need an outstanding lawyer to get your deal done, so why don't you use mine? His details are on the screen. When he reached heads of terms, send him a message and he'll be able to help you get the deal done. Once you buy a business, first day of ownership, what's your routine? What do you do first?
So the first thing we want to do is we want to be there to meet the team, because there's always uncertainty. So whenever you take over a business, the employees are going to say, what's really going on here? You know, is the guy who's run this business really going to hang around? You know, what are these new guys going to do? Are they going to come in? Are they going to replace us?
Everyone's worried about their job, right?
Always
that
worried.
is the number one thing that they're thinking about.
It's self-preservation. So the first thing is to set everybody down. So it's a communication piece, introduce them to the senior members of the team, and just say, look, we love the business, that's why we bought it. We wouldn't have bought this business if we didn't like it. Mm-hmm. We just think we can actually grow it quicker together. So actually, there's not a threat to you here, there's an opportunity. There's a huge opportunity, because as we grow our business, we need more good people like you. And that presents opportunities for you to potentially move up into the organisation at a more higher level.
So what's the plan over the next 3 years? Hit the 20 million and sell at that point?
Yes, I mean, I don't know if it's 3 years or 4 years or 5 years, but I think if you have your own business, you do need an exit strategy in place.
Yes.
And I'm really enjoying what I'm doing, but at some point I want to be able to sit back and enjoy life a little bit more.
Absolutely.
So yes, you're absolutely right. We want to get to that 20 million. We want to hit a profitability number that makes sense for an acquirer.
Yes.
And can we do that in 3 years? I don't know. Can we do it in 5 years? I think yes, we can.